How can you make your Agile, your Scrum, your Kanban team more collaborative so no single person can become the source of all the knowledge? How can you make everyone expert in the application that has been developed so when it comes to supporting it, any one of them can support the whole application? And how can you combine the expertise of everyone in that team to build the most robust application of the system? And how do you bring up the new and the junior team members up to speed and upskill them and make them experts? You might think answer to all of these questions might be some myth. Or have you heard of the methodology I'm about to tell you? What I want to discuss in this video is something called mob programming. And if you want to read more about this, you can pick up this book. Those of you can see it is Code with the Wisdom of the Crowd, and you can find the link to this book below in the description. And also accompanying this video will be a detailed blog post on my blog www.agileguru.xyz, where you can go and read up on it as well. Mob programming, what is it? So it's a relatively new thing that has resurfaced from the extreme programming camp, and they take the idea of pair programming and taking it to extreme. That's what extreme programming does. So rather than having two people pairing up, why not have whole of the team pair up? Everyone gains from the expertise within the team. The solution is always robust because it's got the expert knowledge of everyone inside there. And all of the junior team members or the new team members upskill. They're able to support the application going forward. And one of the problems that most teams face, like communication, like technical debt, like bad coding practices, become non-existing when you're using mob programming. Mob programming is going to be really useful in the teams that are working on really complex applications. So I've seen mob programming being used in one of the biggest banks in the world on the payment systems. I've seen it being used in few other organizations, but they have always been used on those really tricky, those really difficult applications. So if you're about to build a really complex system that reads quite a lot of algorithms, really complex, then certainly I think so mob programming is ideal for those teams. How does mob programming work, you might ask? So mob programming is basically pair programming, and there are two roles in mob programming. You have the mob, the whole team, then you have the typist, and you have what you call one computer, one keyboard. So the typist's job is to type the code. He's on the screen there typing, and the mob, everyone else, is telling the typist what to type. Have discussion around how to write this line of code, what they should write, and whatever they tell the typist must write only that. And every 20 minutes you swap this typist. Someone else becomes the typist. So basically, mob, everyone in the team, they tell the typist what to type, what code to write, and the typist's job is it. And that are the only two roles within what you call the mob. Okay, normally what happens is, in organizations where I've used mob, we would have two mobbing sessions, each 2 hours long. So one from 10 to 12, the other one 2 to 4. When you're working as a mob, you have one computer where you're writing the code, and we do not allow any other machines there. So you can't have your phone, you can't be there having mini discussion as yourself. What we do need is a whiteboard to have that discussion, but everyone in that room is talking about the application and the code that has just been written. And the typist is not allowed to write any line of code or sneak in any code that he think of at that moment. not a cost-effective way of programming. But what you will find, even though if you're a junior team member and really junior at programming, because you're observing the knowledge of everyone else's, you will upskill rapidly. You will find that because everyone's detailed knowledge and expertise has been put into this code, there will be really low number of defects that are being found and will have impact. And what you will realize is that because it's everyone's combined expertise, the decisions that team are making, they are better decisions as a group rather than if there was just one programmer making that decision, or two of them. Research done back in 2006 found that group more than 3 people outperformed any individual no matter how expert they were. On pair programming, what we found is that the pair is good as the strongest developer there, or the strongest engineer there. Okay, how do we start mob programming within our teams? So when we are starting mob programming, it's really important to frame this as an experiment. Put a time frame of how long you are going to try this experiment for, and then after the end of experiment you can decide to continue or scrap it. Keep the mob small, 3 to 4 people. Have the correct tools and the setup required for mob programming. Mob programming is an in-person sort of activity, so in office is best. And for mob programming, it is really good idea to book a meeting room so that you're sitting in the room and not getting distracted by anyone else. Make sure the room that you're booking in for your mob programming is large enough to accommodate everyone who's involved in mob programming. Make sure the room that you're using for mob programming has a large screen or projector where you can project the code that has been written by the typist. Make sure that room has a whiteboard so that the team can use that for discussion, and make sure that you enable line numbers on your code editor. And what you also need is a timer. A device that can time for 20 minutes so that you can rotate the typist. One other thing, that at the end of every of your mobbing session you should have at least 20 minutes for a retro to see what worked, what didn't, and what you want to improve for your next session. Typist. Typist in mob programming is a person who is sitting at the screen with the keyboard that is writing the lines of code. Think of a typist as a smart assistant who is putting into code or who is typing up what the rest of the mob is telling him to do. There are 2 rules for typist. Rule number 1, a typist cannot challenge the mob, so he cannot dispute with what mob is asking them to code. And rule number 2, the typist cannot sneak in any code by himself. So rule number 1, typist cannot challenge the mob, and rule number 2, typist cannot sneak in any code without the team knowing. Can you do mob programming remotely? Answer is more than likely, but I have only seen mob programming being used before COVID and in person. With the tools that we have available today, potentially yes, you can do mob programming remotely, but it's going to be really challenging. It's going to be really challenging and tiring for the people who are doing mob programming remotely. So my suggestion is, if you're going to try mob, do it in person. Please like, subscribe, and if you want to find out more about mob programming, please check out my blog